Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel and Kim, sponsored by DownloadTennis.com. On today's US Open Round 1 catch-up,
Serena on song on opening night.
Halep, Tsitsipas and Fritz suffer shock exits.
And Andy Murray fires past Francisco Cerundolo.
Kim, today is the 30th of August and we are here to catch up on the US Open Round 1 at Tennis Weekly HQ. Yes, I am fully aware the night session hasn't started yet and Round 1 is still going on, but alas, the time zones are against us in the UK. But at the same time, there is so much to catch up on already. Shocks galore, particularly on day one. Halep, Tsitsipas, Taylor Fritz, and Daria Kasatkina losing to Harriet Dart. It was all going on. Lots of big seeds, lots of favourites, lots of action that really started the US Open with a bang that I can't really remember a Grand Slam this year delivering so much, specifically on day one.
Yeah, I think a lot of slams have begun quite sedately of late, and it's taken a few days to get that big win or shock. And yeah, today, boom!
There was no messing about.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been great. Lots to talk about from yesterday in particular. Not so much so far today, the Tuesday, but you know, yesterday is more than made up for that. And I mean, just before we kind of touch on that, Joel, I've had some disappointment with Fernando Verdasco going out.
I thought you were going to say collect a set for a second.
Well, I mean, that has been blown apart by two of our picks just going out in the first round. So I have to say no one has got Halep or Taylor Fritz's prediction correct.
I was wondering if anyone was even going to be close to that, but
nope.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, you would have had incredible foresight to have seen those two results coming as they did.
We had very high hopes for Taylor Fritz based on, Wimbledon and Indian Wells and just the way the draw has gone. And yeah, who would have thought he'd lose to Tracy Austin's son in the first round of the US Open? Yeah, I didn't even know Tracy Austin had a son who played tennis, but yeah, we'll touch base on that in due course. I mean, let's start without further ado. Let's go back to yesterday. Let's start with the night session because we had Serena Williams rocking up onto court for what could have been her final match. It isn't her final match. She lives to fight another day. She came through against Danka Kovinic 6-3, 6-3. But I guess aside from the tennis, what was most notable was her outfit.
I knew you were going to say that. The diamonds.
I loved it.
The glitter, the glam.
I loved the sort of skirt cape trail, the sparkles. It was great. Really, really nice. I mean, trust Serena to come, dressed up to the occasion. It added that extra element. And, there were a lot of celebrities in attendance. So obviously it was the place to be in New York last night. And she put on a performance.
And Olympia also had a matching outfit, didn't she?
Yeah, she was in the sparkles as well. And she had like the beads in her hair, which I think was reminiscent of Serena's first match at the US Open back in the 90s. So a bit of a homage to that. So yeah, she was dressed up taking photos.
I always associate those beads with, there's a show in the UK called A Question of Sport, and there's a round in it called What Happens Next. And I remember a clip of like the beads, I think from Serena Williams' hair kind of falling out around that period, and a let was played. But I remember the umpire saying, if that happens again, you forfeit the point. And I always associate those beads with, yes, really iconic, look really cool, and you don't often see that on a tennis court, but I think I would just get so much anxiety around if one bead fell out, and am I going to have to play a let because of it?
Yeah, and they'd just like be scrambling around on the court trying to get all the beads. Yeah, it's like when an earring falls out, you're like, where did it go?
To be fair, if I was a ball boy, I would just be like trying to find the beads, put it in my pocket, maybe, put it up on eBay a little bit later.
So callous to sell it, yeah. I mean, it was the largest attendance ever recorded for a night session on Arthur Ashe. So I think the day session as well set a record. I think in the US Open history, it was the second highest single day attendance in total. So just over 70,000 people. So a bit of a contrast to Wimbledon, where the numbers are a lot lower than usual. Obviously, everyone out, at the US Open, I guess sparked on by the Serena effect. They want to, soak up her presence for the last time. And, also really humid though, really hot and humid. So not the most pleasant conditions to be playing or watching tennis in if you're there in person. But yeah, Serena did well. She came through a bit of an iffy first set, a lot of breaks of serve, but she managed to break for 5-3 in the first set, and from there on, she was a bit more comfortable and she came through in straight sets. And I mean, given the fact that she really hasn't played very much, I think it was only her 5th tour level match in just over a year, only her 2nd win in that time. I know Chris was well, we were both very thinking that Serena wasn't going to win. I think Chris was a bit more positive in our preview pod, but I mean, yeah, I think actually her winning in straights kind of surprised me. Maybe it shouldn't have done, but
to me, it was a little bit of a surprising performance with how easily she came through. I think particularly that second set, it looked a lot better. I thought her movement was again the best we've seen in a long time. I just compare it back to that that match against Emma Raducanu at Cincinnati, where she just wasn't really even in picture or ready to take the ball from the back of the court in the majority of the rallies with Raducanu. And here, I thought her movement was much better. Even when Kovinic was bringing out drop shots, Williams was able to kind of chase them down, and she was to kind of also, I think, just able to change momentum of points that looked like they were going Kovinic's way, but Williams was able to kind of do the counterpunching that we've not really seen, I feel, in her performances since kind of coming back. And it was impressive. Of course, the atmosphere was electric, and I did feel in that first set there was a little bit of nerves there from both sides, hence I think quite a few breaks of serve. But I think as it went on, I think Williams really kind of rose to the occasion. And I mean, what an occasion. The fact that it was, near capacity on day one in the evening session. For a lot of people, this was going to be their moment that they may have seen Serena Williams retired. And I think, the tournament organisers probably certainly felt that, given the ceremony and the occasion that they built, particularly around this round one encounter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I mean, some people were, yourself included, Joel, you said to me before we started recording, why did they not wait till Serena's last match for sure to do the video and the ceremony and everything? But I guess they didn't, there's no guarantee, and everyone was sort of coming for this night session. So it is a bit odd, she's going to be back on court against Conversely. She might then lose and just bow out. I'm sure there'll be a rapturous, standing ovation, but there won't be any of the other sort of stuff around that. But I guess from an organisation point of view, they kind of thought, let's do it first round.
If you're a player, if you are a player, would you have preferred having the, fixed on an occasion on round one? Doesn't matter if you're going to win or lose, we're going to do it here. Because it felt very much to me with, the big "We Love Serena" mosaic sign in the crowd, family coming out on court. It felt very much kind of a celebration. But for me, it's a little bit odd. In the sense that I associate normally kind of retirements with coming after defeats. And I get that is not as positive. And I imagine the tournament organisers want to just keep that energy up as much as possible, especially on opening night. So I can understand why they've done it. Yeah. But for me, naturally, I'm like, shouldn't it just be the last match of your career?
I guess they could have done it at a later date, so she could have played and lost, and then they could have just put something into a night session schedule like the day after, perhaps. But what's done is done. She does live to fight another day. Conversely came through her first round, I think only dropping 3 games, so maybe she's coming into a bit more form as well. So that will set it up nicely for a second round encounter between the two of them. I would imagine that's, well, is that the night session for tomorrow?
Must be. Yes,
it is. I was going to say that's got night session kind of written all over it, perhaps. And I'm quite curious. I do think Serena has a good chance to win that still. Yeah. I mean, I personally would really love Serena to go on a bit of a run here and to delay the inevitable as long as possible. And she did say, when she does perform better on, like she did against Kovinic, it sort of gives her, I don't know, like maybe doubt that whether retiring is the right thing, because she's like, she knows that she can still play well and be out there. And it's, does she then start to question what she's doing? But I mean, I guess she has used the term
elusive language,
evolving rather than retiring. So I guess there's still room for, a comeback when she's 55 or what have you. But one thing before we move on, Joel, as well. I know Billie Jean King was out and about in attendance. You'll be pleased to know that she was wearing her magenta jacket again, which I know you love very much.
Iconic. So iconic.
Absolutely.
But what I thought was funny, Kim, was I noticed quite a few commentators say, they put so much emphasis into, or so much effort into Serena Williams' outfit. Didn't think so much about Bianca Andreescu's outfit, who was so annoyed with her dress given the gusty conditions during the day session. She actually changed her skirt into shorts during her match. She pleaded with the umpire. She basically badmouthed Nike. To a point, she bizarrely had to come out before the end of the day to apologise to Nike, saying, "I love them. I want to be with them forever." So I don't know if she was scared of being dropped, but it was quite funny to see that contrast of, we're having this amazing all glitz, all glam outfit on Ash, but yeah, for Bianca Andreescu, she was having none of it with the outfit that she was given.
Yeah, and of course Serena wears Nike, so they've created this lovely thing for Serena, and then obviously Andreescu's not happy with the skirt. And yeah, I mean she kind of was like, "Oh, it's not my fault, it's Nike's fault. This dress is so bad." She did have to rectify that, and she said that she hoped she would be with Nike for the rest of her life/career. So I hope she's done amends with their, the sponsorship side of things. But yeah, she basically was pleading with the umpire, blaming it on the dress, because she didn't want to use up one of her bathroom breaks, or dress change breaks. When she was kind of making the point that it's not because she just needs to change, it's because she physically can't play. It's that bad because of the outfit. But she came through in 3 sets against Harmony Tan. So a bit of a funny scoreline, 6-3, 6-1. But she is through, and she's got a really interesting match. Haddad Maia next round, who double bageled Anna Konjuh. So does that mean Haddad Maia is absolutely going to route her way through this tournament? Or do you think that was maybe Anna Konjuh just having an absolute nightmare?
Yeah. I think it's she's one of the players who is so far, we're very early days, but based on that one match, she is in red hot form. She's been playing great, since the grass court, So Andreescu is going to have a real battle on her hands. I think that is also scheduled for the night session tomorrow night. So I'll be really curious to see how that goes. And also, more importantly, Kim, is Andreescu going to come back out in the skirt? Or is she going to be in the shorts? Are the shorts now a good luck charm for her?
Well, it might depend on the wind.
No wind in the night session, you would assume. So
yeah, I would assume the wind will have dropped at night, so she might be back out. But I'm sure all eyes will be on, what she comes out wearing. Caroline Garcia is also through. Coco Gauff, Contemplate, we mentioned, on Jabeur. So some comfortable wins for those guys. And on the men's side, Daniil Medvedev coming through easily. And Nick Kyrgios, comfortable win over Kokkinakis. But I guess the real stories from day one were, for me, 2 of the top male seeds out in 4 sets. Taylor Fritz, let's start with him. Many people had very high hopes for Taylor Fritz, including everyone who took part in our collector set. And he lost to Brandon Holt, a qualifier who's playing his first Grand Slam. It's his home tournament. He's ranked, I think, around the 300s in the world. Has been sort of, I think, quite a top college player at the USC. But really had his kind of professional entry onto the tour a bit delayed by COVID and some injury. But here he is playing in his first Grand Slam, and what a way to get your Grand Slam career off by beating, the 10th seed in 4 sets, and also a really hard fought victory. Not going away. Taylor Fritz certainly had his chances. He could have gone 2 sets up And you kind of think if he had, it might have been a very different story. But the resilience that Brandon Holt showed, particularly to come through and get this win, was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and certainly in that second set where he faced 3 set points when he was serving at 5-6, was able to bat them away and then kind of take it through in the tiebreak. And I think one of the reasons I think Taylor Fritz lost that match was, you talk about kind of Brandon Holt and how he was very resilient in those moments he needed to be. Well, it felt like Taylor Fritz, the longer that match went on, the more adversity he was facing. It just didn't feel like he really had, I think, the belief that he was going to be able to come through this. And I don't know if that is because he, lacks different strategies or a plan B, but it certainly felt that he just ran out of ideas in terms of, what do I do to beat this guy? Maybe he was caught a little bit by surprise when he didn't take that second set, and going into that third and fourth set, I think he hit a little bit kind of panic mode, didn't really know what to do. And we've seen in the past, I think, with Taylor Fritz, I always think back to his match at Wimbledon against Nadal, where again he had opportunities, but again when he was faced with real adversity, he wasn't able to just get the job done, and arguably lacked a little bit of killer instinct. And I think that was again on show here. And again, it was, I think, tough conditions as well. There may be a bit of a fatigue involved. I think with Fritz, again, there's a little bit of a question around when matches do go long, how long can he last? But Brandon Holt was certainly up to the challenge, and yeah, fantastic win for him to come through in 4 sets. And I always think him with these American versus American matchups, regardless of the rankings, because naturally they've probably come through the same system, they've probably played college tennis, they may have even played with each other in the juniors. Like, it's not like they're a complete unknown entity, and I think that would also have given belief to Brandon Holt that he could pull off a surprise victory.
Yeah, he probably knows Fritz's game fairly well, and has maybe practiced and trained with him before. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he would have got a lot of inspiration from his mother as well. Tracy Austin is a 2-time US Open champion, so I mean, what a key figure to have in your support camp and your life as well. And I think what's quite interesting really, about Brandon Holt, and I guess anyone who watched any of the TV coverage probably heard this story, but his career was kind of put on hold a year ago because he was sort of diagnosed with something called osteoid osteoma. There's a lot of osteos there, which is essentially like an extra bone growing in his hand, so giving him a lot of pain. And obviously that's something that maybe could have ended his career. So the fact that after that, he's recovered and went on quite a big streak in the ITF events, which has obviously given him a lot of confidence to then qualify for his first slam and get this win, on home turf. So yeah, really, really fantastic opportunity for him. He's got Pedro Cachin of Argentina in the next round, which, I mean, if you're going to beat Taylor Fritz at the US Open, that means you're more than capable of beating Pedro Cachin. And I can see him, getting through to, maybe a third round against Van der Zandschulp or something, which, would be really exciting to see how far he can go and if he can make, the most of this opportunity. And I guess someone else who's made the most of an opportunity would be Daniil Elahi Galan, the conqueror of Stefanos Tsitsipas yesterday, who also won in 4 sets. I mean, Galan did well at, I think, was it Wimbledon? He got to, I think, the 4th round. So obviously, has had a really good year. Very solid player and not someone you want to underestimate. But the way that this match kind of started, the first 2 sets, 6-love, 6-1, Tsitsipas only winning 1 game. I think in the first set, Tsitsipas only won 7 points in total. Really slow, sluggish start.
Understand it, Kim.
Yeah, absolutely bizarre.
Understand it.
Yeah, a really strange start to the match, especially.
Yeah, because Galan is a very solid player, but again, we had such high hopes for Tsitsipas, and it's been a strange season. It's turning into a strange season for Tsitsipas because his form, on the tour has been very, very good. He's won titles, he's gone deep, he's played well, but bar reaching the semi-finals at the Australian Open, his Grand Slam record recently, has not been particularly great. Losing to Kyrgios at Wimbledon, now first round at the US Open. It feels like this season has very much been a slight step back, really, I think, for him at Grand Slams on the biggest stage of all. And, this was not a result I don't think anyone was expecting. I know there have been a few kind of conversations about whether he was injured, because he did, bring the trainer out. And again, he also spoke, I think, in his press conference about the added pressure of the fact that Zverev wasn't there, Djokovic wasn't there. This is a real big opportunity for him to not only win the US Open, but to reach the world number one ranking. And perhaps that pressure also got to him a little bit. But I wouldn't have thought it would have got to him so much that he went completely off the boil to lose his first 2 sets at a Grand Slam, 6-love and 6-1, because that feels something way more fundamental, I think, than those sorts of things that have been speaking about. So perhaps it is maybe due to injury, but it wasn't a good day, was it, for Patrick Mouratoglou in his camp?
No, I memean, Tsitsipas did get treatment from the trainer during changeovers. He was having his arm worked on. So I definitely think there's an injury component to it. And it looked for a time like it could be going to a fifth. Tsitsipas was 4-2 up in that 4th set. But yeah, Galan was able to come back and win like 5 of the last 6 games. And just Tsitsipas, really, really far from where we know he can be. Perhaps the world number one thing being on the cards got to him. But yeah, like you, I don't think that would have been the main concern. I mean, Casper Ruud could be world number one. There's a few players that, depending on results and what have you, could end up with that ranking at the end of the tournament. But I think Tsitsipas, with this match coming up against a really superb performance from Galan as well in his main draw debut as well. He's qualified. He didn't drop a set in qualifying. And good for him, good for Galan. And this really isn't a major that Tsitsipas has ever particularly done that well at. He's never reached the round of 16 here. So he doesn't like the US Open very much so far in his young career. Which, I guess, considering like he had that loss even against Borna Coric 2 years ago, didn't he? And then last year against Alcaraz. So yeah, probably US Open not his most favourite tournament at the moment. And another player, actually, Joel, who has never really done sort of super well at the US Open. I think she's reached a semi-final previously, but never gone beyond that. It's Simona Halep, who I think you might have predicted to win the tournament. And as some other people did in collector set as well. So, I mean, I can see why. She had won 19 of her past 22 matches, including the Toronto title. But yeah, Simona Halep lost in 3 sets to qualifier Daria of Ukraine. 6-2, love 6, 6-4. This was Snigger's first tour level win. So a bit like Brandon Holt, first time at a Grand Slam, first tour level win, full stop. What did you make of this?
Bizarre.
Absolutely kind of, a bit of a bizarre scoreline. Halep kind of bageling in that second set. You kind of thought, oh, she's got the hang of it now. But no, Snigor would not go away in that 3rd set.
Yeah, and even though I think, Snigor in that 3rd set hurried towards the finish line, and Halep was coming back at her. I think it was 5-1. Halep managed to get it back to 5-4, but Snugura really, just closed it out. And she's got such an unorthodox game, Kim. It really reminds me of the way she kind of loads up for her ground strokes in the back of the court. Reminds me a little bit of Barbora Krejcikova. But then when I look at her service action, it reminds me of like Sue Shea in terms of, it's a little bit. You wouldn't necessarily see that in the training manual, and it was, it proved very, very effective. She's a Wimbledon junior champion. She's been able to do it, on the junior circuit. So it was great to see her come and get such an amazing, win. And I think, part of that was to do. I think she was, inspired by the situation at the moment, being from Ukraine, and really kind of bringing it out onto a tennis court. Because I was reading that her practice base was bombed in Ukraine, I think a few months ago. So it just shows the the level of adversity and the challenges she's had to deal with, I think, over the last few months. But, to come here to the US Open where you're facing someone as proven on a Grand Slam stage as Simona Halep, a player who is very consistent. We don't really associate her with going out too often at round one stage. Yes, it has happened in the past, but to a qualifier, this was a pretty devastating loss, I think, for Halep, whose form was just so erratic. To bagel a player and then lose 2 other sets. There were big momentum shifts there, and it baffles me because I thought her and Muratoglu, they were getting on great. They had put some really good wins together. 19 of her past 22 matches had ended in victories. But, on the grand stage, unfortunately, it's not developed into anything more than turning up into round one and then losing to a qualifier.
Yeah, and, her serve was broken 5 times. She hit a lot of unforced errors. Just not a good day on the court. And you did kind of feel when Snigo went 5-1 up in that third set, you thought, and Halep got those 3 games back, took it back to 5-4, and you thought, is this going to be like Snigo collapsing? Is Halep gonna pull it off? But yeah,
you just clung on to that hope,
I know,
didn't you?
yeah, but I mean, because I feel like a lot of people really wanted Halep to do super well here, get first hard court slam. Normally she's very consistent, and as far as we're aware, she doesn't have sort of an injury issue going on. Like, she's been in really good form. So this one, very surprising. And I know that normally when we have like a top seed in the women's game or a big name going out early, it's perhaps not that much of a shock, but I felt with this one, it kind of was. Really was not expecting that one at all. And hopefully she'll be able to kind of, I don't know, analyze and assess what went wrong out there. But fair play to Daria Snuga. Very emotional win for her, like you said, what with the war in Ukraine. Her first big win. What a place to do it, and against such an opponent. So absolute credit to Snuga. And if she can keep it up, the seeds have fallen in her little section of the draw. So perhaps she can go
very,
further.
very open, hasn't it?
Definitely. And I mean, talking about top seeds going out, we have had the 10th seed on the women's side go out yesterday as well. But what's, I guess, most remarkable about this result for a lot of our listeners who are based in the UK is that Harriet Dart was the victor here. So Daria Kasatkina being knocked out by Harriet Dart. Really, really, really close first set. Went down to the wire in the tie break. I think it was 10-8 in that tie break. Took over an hour to get there. Very hot and humid conditions. Not great. I think Kasatkina was ill on the court, so obviously struggling quite a bit. And then, Kasatkina racing through that second set was a breakup in the third. You kind of thought, she's got this. Dart's done well, but she's probably going to fade in 3.
That is exactly what I thought.
I know.
She's given a good show, and then I think she went a breakdown early in that third set, and you just thought,
classic,
good competitive performance, but unfortunately not gonna take the win today. But she again was very, very resilient, and I do feel at times during that third set it did come down to who just wanted it more, because the conditions were so punishing. I mean, there were times as well I thought Harriet Dart was looking like she was running on fumes, and I always think you're always going to be in with a chance, I think, with Kasatkina on her service games, given how slow some of the serves she puts into the court. She's got tremendous variety, don't get me wrong, from her ground strokes, really able to mix it up, and at times did have Harriet Dart on a string, but Dart just stuck with her in that third set, and she went from a point at the beginning where I was like, how long is this going to last, to 25 minutes later where she was playing the better tennis, and to see that from Harriet Dart was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we know she's had a really good season. She's cracked the top 100. She got to, I think, the quarters of Indian Wells, a few quarters on the grass as well. So, I mean, it's just great. She's here as an automatic, entrant, main draw, and up against Kasatkina, who won the Granby title, just a few days ago. Perhaps that was playing into it a bit tired. Maybe she shouldn't have played the week before the slam. But Dart, yeah, absolutely just focused on every single point and was gritty and determined throughout the whole match. And I mean, she's got a great opportunity. She's now playing Dalma Galfi, who is literally just ranked like 3 places different to Dart. So someone of a very similar like level and ranking. So why not get another win for Harriet Dart if the circumstances allow? And good luck to her, because she's absolutely earned her place in the second round with that win over Kasatkina, who a lot of people were kind of tipping to perhaps go deep. So obviously Kasatkina will be disappointed. She'll have to look maybe at her scheduling going forwards, or having a rethink. But yeah, great stuff for Harriet Dart. And to be honest, quite a good day for the Brits generally, wasn't it? With the exception of Kyle Edmund, who was up against Casper Ruud, had a very difficult match, succumbed in 3 sets.
He showed, there were flashes there. I watched some of that match, and it wasn't as one-sided as it could have been. He's just coming back onto the tour, and
exactly.
I think there were moments where Ruud was pushed. But yeah, he ultimately had, just had a little bit too much. But it still was a promising performance, despite, I think, the straightforward nature of it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with your assessment. And the other 2 British lads in action, Jack Draper and Andy Murray, both coming through in straight sets. This was actually Andy Murray's, I think, his first straight sets win at a Grand Slam in like 5 years.
It confused me, Kim. I just didn't understand. It was so unproblematic. It just felt so un-Andy Murray.
Yeah, I mean, that first set was a bit scratchy, coming and going a little bit. But the second set onwards, very comfortable. Murray went, I think, 5-love up in the second set. Cerundolo was kind of, I was reading an article and they said he just lost the plot, which, I mean, I love that phrase. I love the phrase, like, to lose the plot. I think it's great. And I don't think Cerundolo's ever won a match at a Grand Slam, so perhaps this is the reason.
I heard that as well, and it surprised me a little bit. But I wouldn't necessarily say he lost the plot. To be fair, again,
it's a harsh article.
Bit of this, maybe it was written by someone who's very pro Andy Murray, but
maybe.
Yeah, I thought Andy Murray he played a very very good, very 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 good level of tennis across the 3 sets. Again, very hard conditions. Cerundolo from the back of the court, very tricky player to play against, and it was tough going. This is decade on from his US Open triumph, and to get a straight sets win over the 24th seed is was very very impressive. And it was interesting. It wasn't without controversy, because in that first set there was a moment when there was a double bounce that Cerundolo got to a ball and won a point, but Andy Murray was like, well, that ball double bounced. And we had this bizarre situation, Kim, of the replays coming up on the screen for the fans and it quite clearly showing a double bounce, and Cerundolo, to his credit, gave the point to Murray.
Very sporting of him. Very impressive.
But it was weird because the umpire still at this moment just does not have that technology available to them. And I feel like this is something I always keep banging on the door about, but for instant replays, it feels very bizarre that fans have got more power or to see something than the umpire, who still is kind of powerless, like officially, to do something unless the player steps in. Because Cerundolo could have very well, just been like, umpire didn't do anything. It's my point. It was, it was quite a key moment in the first set. So
yeah, fortunately, he's a nice bloke, so he recognised.
I know exactly.
But yeah, like you said, in these sorts of situations, it shouldn't really be down to whether the fans, make a bit of a raucous response to the action replay. I think we should really have some kind of VAR where the ref or the umpire can legitimately make a change. Obviously, we have the challenge system, but that relates to line calls. I don't think you can use it for obviously like a double bounce situation. So
I think they should bring in that VAR signal, like the player can make to the umpire. Just makes it really clear. We see it in other sports. It just feels like an easy way to just clear up any sort of controversy. And I do think this is still one of the things for me that is a little bit of a a bugbear, on the tour is something that I think is so. It is so absolute. I think it's quite obvious whether it's bounced it's double bounced or it hasn't. But we're still not in a situation where it's just fully conclusive.
Yeah, and I don't think this changed the outcome of the entire match or anything like that, but it could do. Like, there could be a really critical moment in a final or something where, like, the crowd get involved and it's a big hoo-ha. So I definitely think that decision-making body should look at this, and if you're going to be showing replays like that on the screen for all to see, then you've got to have some decision-making capabilities that might come in as a result of that. So perhaps we'll have to watch the space on any developments on that one. Just going back to British players though, Joel, obviously Andy Murray had a good win. Jack Draper also a straight sets win over Emil Ruusuvuori.
Auger Aliassime next.
Yes, FAA next. I thought the Ruusuvuori match, could have been maybe a banana skin. I thought, given, although Draper's been in really good form, I thought, could this be a bit of a tricky opener?
He beat Draper at Queen's, so it was a real turnaround, wasn't it?
Yeah, and FAA next, who came through against the qualifier from Switzerland, Richard. This is the match we wanted, isn't it? I think I hope it's on an agreeable time for British audiences, because that would be a really fun match to watch. It'll be a very intriguing encounter. And Draper very, very ruthless in his first match at the US Open, and with potential. I could see him beating FAA, to be quite honest. Not in straight sets, but maybe if it went 4.
I think it has the potential to be a real showcase of young gun talent, I think, and similar to kind of Kyle Edmund, I think, against Casper Ruud. I think this is Jack Draper's opportunity to show what he can do against one of the, the leading, next generation talents, on the tour. And I don't think there's a better time, I think, for him to go and show what he can do. He's had a great season. It's all, I think, been building up to this moment when he's got the opportunity to cause a real upset. I do think he's unfortunately on the night session as well. I think on Louis Armstrong, but I'm curious to see. Yeah, when I wake up in the morning, what that scoreline's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be very intriguing. Just before we touch upon today's results, I think for me one of the matches from day one was a certain Tim van Rijthoven coming back from, I think, was 2 sets down. He came back to win
and 1 million match points
in 5 sets. Yeah, I mean, what an absolute star. Really, really good stuff. He's playing Casper Ruud next, so I'm just pleased that his Wimbledon, appearance wasn't flash in the pan. Yeah, he's backed it up. And I mean, on another note, I guess the player who's trying to get back up there, Dominic Thiem, he lost in 4 sets to PCB. That was always going to be a very tricky opener for Dominic Thiem, and I guess just proof that his level's not where it needs to be yet. But I mean,
I think it was, to be fair, I thought it was tricky for Carreño Busta.
Yeah.
It went 4 sets. I didn't feel like, at any moment PCB was going to lose it. He's such a hard player to face, on the hard courts. He's obviously done well here previously, as has Dominic Thiem, and I really enjoyed actually watching Dominic Thiem, because I felt when I was watching him, he was just playing with freedom. There was no, I think, holding back because of injuries, with his wrists or whatever. He just was just letting go. And I think there were a few too many, unforced errors that ultimately led to defeat. But I think it was great to see him just kind of play with that freedom that, I think with time and more match play, I think certainly we'll be seeing him further and further up the rankings.
I think it's got to come with time. Surely, slowly but surely. But let's take a short break now. We'll be back in a moment to catch up on all the action from day 2 so far of the US Open. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to our US Open Round 1 catch-up, sponsored by downloadtennis.com. And let's look back at today's action so far from the US Open. Haven't had a major shock yet, Joel, have we? Apart from Verdasco losing. He's a lucky
Ostapenko.
Oh, yeah,
Is that a shock?
I
mean, Qin Wencheng's not...
No, I don't think
she's
that's
a dark
shock.
horse, I think, now. Like, she had that was a very, very good win. I mean, the handshake, as always, left a little bit
frosty.
Be desired. Yes, Ostapenko just wanted to get off the court. She was already on her side of the net, I think, before giving the handshake. So she wasn't particularly happy, but quite an entertaining match, that one.
I mean, just on the women's side, Joel, big shock. Muguruza won. I mean, we were all predicting Clara Tauson to win that one, and Muguruza has won, which, I mean, does this mean, am I getting carried away, but does this mean she's now just going to go and win the whole caboodle because she's got through?
Well, we say this
round.
every time, Kim, but we can't, I just don't think we can say that. I just think very much at the moment with Muguruza that I think she was a player, like I would say, like Kvitova, where she could just go on a run and win a tournament. And Kvitova has shown that. She got to the final of what was it? She got to the final of Cincinnati, didn't she? Like a few weeks ago. Was it Cincinnati or
Toronto? I think
was it Toronto?
Lost to Halep. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
But I think with Muguruza now, we just got to take, based on the season she's had, we just got to take one match at a time. And it was a very good win against Clara Tauson. Both players very, very big hitting. That second set was very, very tight. Tauson arguably should have pushed it to a third. But yeah, Muguruza, I was impressed with, given all the losses she's had this season. I just thought, she's just been so fragile that I thought Tauson was just going to break through. And you did feel that if she had nabbed that second set, she would have had all of the momentum and maybe have run away with it. So for Muguruza to get that done in two sets and in a tiebreak in that second set, was very, very impressive, even though on paper, as the ninth seed, you'd have expected her to come through anyway. Yeah,
just a correction. You were right. Kvitova did reach the final of Cincinnati.
Was I right?
Lost to Garcia. I don't know why I thought it was the other one. So apologies, listeners. I mean, Swiatek is through comfortably today as well. Perhaps we thought she might have a bit of a bogey match given her recent form, but comfortable over Jasmine Paolini 6-3, 6-love. She had really good rhythm. She was very happy, I think, with her performance in the first round. So perhaps she's just going to zone into old Swiatek mode. I don't know. Early days.
I love the fact I was reading she has now got a bagel. She's now secured a bagel in all of the first round matches she's played at Grand Slam level this year. So she's dished out 4 bagels in 4 round 1 matches, including against Paolini. So she's back to kind of that formidable Swiatek. I mean, Paolini on her date, yes, can be a little bit tricky, but Swiatek just a bit too much. I think we're all now looking forward to Swiatek Sloane Stephens second round. Sloane Stephens coming through Greet Minnen today, had a very, very slow start, got broken again, was 5-love down, lost the first set 6-1, but then kind of found her rhythm and came through 6-3, 6-3 in sets 2 and 3. But really intriguing matchup now between a former US Open champion in Sloane Stephens and the world number 1, Iga Swiatek.
Yeah, and a potential future US Open champion. I mean, I thought it was interesting. Swiatek in her post-match interview was saying that in other tournaments, when the top seeds have buys in the first round, you're coming in and your first match is against someone who's already, played a match, or, if it's a qualifier, a couple of matches. I mean, obviously you can play a qualifier in the first round of a slam as well, but she was saying kind of when you're at a slam and you're just in the first round proper and your other opponent is also playing their first match, it's more of a level playing field, whereas the regular events on the tour, where as the top seed you're coming in with a bye, you might come up against someone who's like super tuned in from that, like just having played another match already. Perhaps there's an argument, just to get rid of buys at like the 1,000 events, 500s, etc. I know it's been raised before, but perhaps, some players would benefit. And we know with the depth of the women's game that it's obviously, the first round you can be up against some cracking opposition. So you probably really want to be as honed in as you can be. But yeah, I thought an interesting point. Maybe that, I don't know. I know it's been raised before, but yeah, maybe going forwards maybe they could trial it. But yeah, let's look at some other results from the women's side today. Karolina Pliskova is through. That was a last set tie break. She had to win that on against Magda Linette, who did lead 4-1 in the third set. Pliskova also was up in that tie break, and then I think 7-2 up in the tie break. Linette came back to 8-7 in the tie break, and then Pliskova grabbed the last 3 points. So that really could have gone either way. Right old tussle for the former finalist. And Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina. I don't know if this is a big shock. I wouldn't necessarily say it is, but she's out in the first round. I mean, how often have we seen this where we have a new slam champion and the next slam that they're a goner immediately? What do you think was the main factor behind Rybakina's defeat today?
Yeah, she's just not really kicked on, has she, since Wimbledon? It's been interesting hearing her talk about her not being treated like a Grand Slam champion, and we've seen that in the the tournaments she's played in, even the US Open. And I agree, that's no way to treat a current Grand Slam champion. And I think it was unfortunate, she didn't get any ranking points from Wimbledon that would have propelled her up the rankings. And
sorry to butt in, Joel, but that wouldn't have stopped her losing from someone like Clara Burrell, who is not seeded. So I don't know. I feel that her losing to Clara Burrell, who is I think at one point was lauded as being fairly up and coming, but I don't know if we've really seen enough of her to say that much. But I don't know. I'm still was expecting more. I know it's difficult, isn't it, when there's pressure and attention on you, but I'm a bit saddened that Rybakina has not done better here.
I think for me, I still think the just not being treated, like a Grand Slam champion, and again, not having the ranking points, I think for me maybe had a more of a mental impact in terms of how she, I think, she would have probably been thinking about becoming a Grand Slam champion all her life, building up to this moment and thinking, once it happens, I'm going to have the red carpet rolled out for me at all the tournaments. All the tournaments are going to want me to play. I'm going to get my choosing of, primetime slots to play and showcase my brand of tennis. But it really hasn't happened, for Rybakina. And I think that has surprised her, based on, the interviews that she's given to press. And I think it's mentally affecting her when she goes out onto the court, where I get that she's probably a bit frustrated in terms of how she's being treated. And I think we're seeing that in her games. And I don't think, we've seen tennis that is, to me, far beyond, what I've seen of Clara Burrell, who, granted, as was a junior world number one, but I think is still, adapting to, the WTA tour at the very highest level. Yeah, but for me, kind of with Rybakina, I just wonder if how she's being treated is affecting her mentally, and that's why we're seeing these results happen early on in the tournaments.
Yeah, I know, I get that point. I just also feel that maybe I'm being harsh, but I feel that that was the situation. There's a lot of players who could have benefited from having ranking points. Heather Watson, for one, like getting to the fourth round, that would have boosted her ranking. Maybe she wouldn't have had to have qualified here, which she obviously failed to do so. And maybe, you kind of just have to accept that and act. Although you're a Grand Slam champion, that doesn't suddenly mean you should go around being like, oh, look at me, I'm a Grand Slam champion. Like, you should behave with the same humility and just get on with your game like you always have. So I don't know. I'm sort of a bit skeptical. I think it's more the fact that there would be the pressure and everyone's saying, oh, yeah, she won Wimbledon, didn't she? Look at her. We're expecting a lot. So that's sort of my angle from it. But I mean, there's some other players today that I thought we might see winning and they haven't. Bernarda Pera, actually, who, is not a seed or anything, but I figured that, I don't know, I just kind of thought that she would be a player that she's had some good form. She won her first title this summer, but she lost to Kalinina. So that was not to be. I know you had your eye on Linda Noskova as well. She lost to Puskova.
The two Lindas. The
Tale
two
of two Lindas.
Yeah, because Linda Fruvertova,
She won.
Yeah, she's a really, really exciting prospect. I watched her at Wimbledon qualies. Yeah, she came through 6-3, 6-4. But it was, tale of two Lindas, wasn't it? With Noskova losing in 3 sets. But yeah, Fruvertova is, for me, again, a player I would go and watch. If I'm at a tournament and she's playing, I would go watch her because I think she is another talent to look forward to for the future, and she seems to be developing very, very nicely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good stuff. She has got Muguruza next round, so that will be an intriguing encounter. Jessie Pegula also won comfortably. And I think that Sabalenka also comfortable win, but she's got Kanepi next, so that could go either way. I think
you wouldn't want to be a tennis ball in Kanepi Sabalenka, would you?
No, you get absolutely blasted out of the court. Venus Williams has just lost. I've seen that come in to Alison van Uytvanck. But the rest of the main action, later on today, we've got we've got Emma Raducanu playing at midnight against Alizé Cornet. You were, I guess, a bit
dismissive.
You were kind of shocked that she wasn't on Arthur Ashe. Were you not?
Yeah, I was actually. If she's a current US Open champion, I understand Naomi Osaka is also a US Open champion, and against Danielle Collins, home American. But yeah, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick there because I think, if I'm being really brutally honest, and I know some of our listeners might not like to hear this, but for me, Naomi Osaka is a part-time player at the moment, and I don't think she should be rewarded with just going on to the the night session on Arthur Ashe to have her her match against Danielle Collins. I think it should be a reward, and I think Raducanu, as a reward of being US Open champion from last year, the current US Open champion, I think she deserves the right to be having that main stage. And I don't feel like it would come down to TV ratings. I feel like both Raducanu and Osaka are box office. So I wouldn't necessarily buy that argument either. So I'm a little bit surprised that Raducanu's been shunted to Louis Armstrong. But it's still going to be a very, very tough match for her. It was quite interesting to see our collector set predictions from all our listeners, because there were quite a few, including myself, who've got her being defeated in round 1 by Cornet. I think it's going to be a very, very tough matchup for her. It's still going to be a very tough matchup, I think, for Naomi Osaka. And there is part of me, Kim, that thinks that both the highest, both those players could go out to Cornet and Collins.
Yeah, I can see Collins winning. I think that's, although she is a home player, I can see that's why they've elected that one to be on Ashe, because I do think they feel that it could be a really close encounter, that Collins could get the win. But I would agree. I think Emma, as the defending champion, certainly at Wimbledon, they do put the defending champion on the main court. I do think Emma should have been rewarded with that as her opening match. But sometimes you have to deal with the schedule and what other matches you've got on there. We've got Rafa opening up the Arthur Ashe night match against Rinky Hijikata of Australia. So obviously that's prior to the Osaka match. I'm hoping Rafa will have a good victory. Touch wood. It's a bit of an annoying time because I don't think I can stay up and get 0 sleep. I'm too old for that these days. But going back to Raducanu, who are you picking for that one? Because it's going to be very tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to go Lise Cornet in 3 sets.
Yeah,
I think Raducanu will bring it, but I think Cornet will bring it as well. And I think both are going to play quality tennis. I think it's going to be I think it could be one of the the matches of round 1. And we've had a few already. But certainly for me, I think it's going to be very tough, and I think Raducanu is going to need to bring her A game if she wants to see it through.
Yeah, well, she brought it in 2021, so let's hope she can do it again. Cornet in good form, reaching the semis, I think, in Tennis in the Land last week. Remarkably, this is her 63rd successive Grand Slam appearance, so Bit of a Feliciano Lopez, but for the ladies, isn't she? But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to round that one up in our round 2 catch up because, all of that's happening after we finish recording later on today. Let's just quickly look ahead to tomorrow's schedule. We've got Andy Murray opening up again on Arthur Ashe this time. Coco Gauff is in action. The night session is Serena Williams against Kontaveit and then Daniil Medvedev against Arthur Rinderknecht. We've also got Sakkari and Keys in action, Nick Kyrgios again, Draper FAA, and then that Haddad Maia Andreescu match.
Oh, really? That Louis Armstrong evening session is looking very solid. Tasty with Draper FAA, Haddad Maia Andreescu. Oh, yeah, very, very good. One final thing, Kim, before we finish this episode, our collector set picks. We're going to announce them.
Oh, yes.
We're going to announce them to our listeners. And I know it's going to sound weird because some of these are just they're just redundant now, aren't they?
Yeah, a third of them are pretty much redundant. So apologies for that. You know who to blame. I will let's start with your picks, Joel. So we had Medvedev, Fritz, Alcaraz, Emma Raducanu, Halep and Garcia as our collector set this year.
I've got Medvedev round 4. I think he's going to lose to Nick Kyrgios. I had Taylor Fritz getting to the quarterfinals, so we can chalk that one off. Carlos Alcaraz round 3. I think he faces Borna Coric in round 3, and I've got Coric coming through that. I've got Raducanu in round 1. Big Emma fan, but sorry Emma. Simona Halep champion. That
aged well.
Yes, and Caroline Garcia I've got getting to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, no, I some good picks in there. I mean, I have Daniil Medvedev for the semi-finals. I've got him to overcome Nick Kyrgios. Although I may live to regret that. Taylor Fritz, I had in the final, so that's even worse. Carlos Alcaraz quarterfinal, which I am aware that differs from the predictions I made in our preview episode where I said Alcaraz was going to win the tournament. I've revised that maybe for my
Steward's inquiry. Why has that happened?
We're allowed to have different predictions for collector set. Emma, I'm sticking with round 1. Sorry, I hope I'm wrong on that one. Halep I had for the quarters, and Garcia I've got for round 3 because I think she is going to lose to Haddad Maia or possibly Andreescu.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong.
Haddad
on that one.
Maia has. I know. I would not want to be facing Haddad Maia in the form she's in.
Not right now.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds, and we'll have to wait and see how Emma Raducanu gets on against Elise Cornet in the night session this evening. But listeners, I hope you've enjoyed our round 1, round by round catch up at the US Open. Remember to subscribe to us on whatever device you listen to us on to stay up to date on all the action at Flushing Meadows over the next couple of weeks. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms out there. You can also listen to us on the downloadtennis.com app. And if you like what you're hearing, then make sure to leave us a rating and comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Tennis Weekly Pod. So do give us a like and a follow. Send us all your thoughts and feedback and comments or any questions you've got for our mailbag. If you prefer, you can email us as well at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our website, www.tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back on Thursday at Tennis Weekly HQ to catch up on all the action from round 2 at the US Open. So I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We will see you again soon.